Another example of completely unprovoked aggression by the U.S. government, the U.S. empire towards Iran. This time, I believe it was over Syrian airspace. Here's an article from Al Jazeera, link in the description box. Passengers injured as U.S. fighter jet comes close to Iranian plane. Iranian media says Mahan air pilot forced to drop altitude to avoid collision with F-15 jet, injuring several people. There's a picture of Mahan plane. Several passengers on an Iranian airline have been injured over Syria after the pilot changed altitude to avoid collision with a U.S. fighter jet, according to Iranian media, but the U.S. military said its F-15 kept a safe distance. Who do you believe? Frankly, just so much disinformation and lies comes from the U.S. government and the U.S. military. I'm frankly more inclined to believe the Iranian side of the story. And again, the U.S. How can they even try to justify a literal fighter plane, with missiles, guns, etc., flying any distance near a passenger plane from Iran? No weapons, just people. I mean, that's just disgusting. The Iranian plane belonging to Mahan Air was heading from Tehran to Beirut on Thursday when the pilot staged a safety maneuver in an incident that Iran's foreign ministry said would be investigated. Iran's official IRIB news agency quoted a passenger describing how his head had hit the roof of the plane during the change in altitude. The video showed an elderly passenger sprawled on the floor. I don't know what happened. A black plane came close to our plane and our plane lost its balance. I was sprung up and my head was banged against the ceiling, the unnamed passenger told IRIB. Another said it was a fighter jet. A fighter jet was literally sticking to our plane. We lost balance and bounced up and down. All the passengers left the plane, some with minor injuries, the head of the Beirut airport told Reuters news agency. The plane arrived back in Tehran in the early hours of Friday, the Fars news agency reported. The incident comes amid tensions between Tehran and Washington, with ties deteriorating since 2018 when U.S. President Donald Trump exited Iran's 2015 nuclear deal with 6 world powers and reimposed sanctions that have battered Iran's economy. Sanctions, again, are a form of economic warfare and just crimes against humanity that are disgusting and need to be called out. The pilot of the passenger plane contacted the jet's pilot to warn them to keep a safe distance, and they identified themselves as American, IRIB reported. The U.S. Military Central Command, which oversees American troops in the region, said the F-15 aircraft was conducting a visual inspection of Iranian aircraft when it passed near the Tamph garrison in Syria, where U.S. forces are present. So disgusting. Captain Bill Urban, the senior Central Command spokesperson, said again, there's no fucking reason for the United States military to be in the Middle East, to be in Syria specifically. Said the F-15 conducted a standard visual inspection of Mahan Air passenger airline at a safe distance of about 1,000 meters from the airliner this evening. The visual inspection occurred to ensure the safety of the coalition personnel at Tamph garrison. Again, there's no fucking reason for them to be there. Once the F-15 pilot identified the aircraft as a Mahan Air passenger plane, the F-15 safely opened the distance from the aircraft. He added the intercept was carried out in accordance with international standards. It's disgusting. On Friday, Iran dismissed the U.S. explanation as unjustified and convincing. I agree. The harassment of a passenger plane on the territory of a third country is a clear violation of aviation security and freedom of civilian aircraft. Leia Joniadi, Vice President for Legal Affairs, was quoted as saying in Iranian media, Iran's Foreign Ministry Mohammad Javad Zarif accused the United States of risking it. Yeah, definitely. The U.S. illegally occupies territory of another state. Syria doesn't want them there. And then harasses a scheduled civilian airliner, endangering innocent civilian passengers, ostensibly to protect its occupation forces. Audacity to compound lawlessness upon lawlessness. These outlaws must be stopped before further disaster, no doubt. Aircraft at that altitude are to maintain a distance of at least 600 meters to ensure they do not hit each other. The planes traveling that close together can encounter wake turbulence. Data from the flight recorded by website flightradar24.com shows the airliner climbed from 34,000 feet to 3,600 feet in under 2 minutes around the time of the incident and dropped down to 34,000 feet a minute after. What the Pentagon hasn't said is why they sent up an aircraft to look at this passenger plane, whereas other passenger planes fly, I'm assuming that's supposed to be by this route, and they haven't intercepted in the past. Roger Shanahan, research fellow at Lowell Institute for National Policy in Sydney, Australia. The U.S. and Israel have long accused Mahan Air of transporting weapons to Iran-backed arms groups in Syria. Let's see. That may well have been one of the reasons why the U.S. chose to take a closer look at the aircraft to check whether there were passengers on board. It's disgusting. The U.S. imposed sanctions on Mahan Air in 2001, saying it provided financial and other support to Iran's elite Revolutionary Guard Corps. Again, it's just another provocation, escalation with tensions towards Iran. Again, U.S. military should not be in Syria. The Syrian government does not want them there. The U.S. has been propping up, these very, very extreme jihadists in the region that want to overthrow the secular Assad government and install a religious theocracy. I guess religious is implied in theocracy. And these just brutal draconian sanctions on Iran that are, a form of imperialism. They're economic warfare. They're crimes against humanity. They, affect things like food and medicine, and obviously disproportionately affect the most vulnerable and marginalized in Iran. And the sanctions on Iran, the sanctions on Syria, the sanctions on Venezuela, all these other countries that the U.S. is using on need to be called out, and this provocation against this civilian plane flying over a third country also needs to be called out. It's disgusting. Peace, much love.